Okay.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. We are so excited. We have teachers and students from Ohio and Florida here to talk about their experience in distance learning and using Learning Blade for STEM instruction. I am just honored to be with Laurie Langdon, a 22-year teaching professional, and her student Lydia, as well as Miss Sonya Russell and her two students, Tiana and Dante, from Arlington Middle School in Florida, and Laurie's from Springboro Middle School in Ohio. Thank you guys for joining us.
You're welcome.
Welcome, glad to be here.
Glad that you could have us.
So what we're hoping to do is just share some of our experiences using Learning Blade for STEM and computer science instruction. I'd like to just start with the fact that we have 50 years of educational experience between Miss Langdon and Miss Russell. These are seasoned, incredible educators, and they are going to share some of their best experiences, some of their hints, and some of how they transitioned into the pre and post COVID-19 use of Learning Blade. So let's start with you, Laurie. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am going to add a few years to my experience. This is actually my 33rd year teaching. So we upped that ante a little bit.
My apologies. Yeah.
And that's okay. So I taught math for 23 years. So Learning Blade for me has been a great transition from the math classroom into the STEM classroom. I've been excited. This is my third year, I think, the third year that I've done Learning Blade, and I was excited about it to begin with. It was a little bit challenging for me at first, but because I come from an academic background with my teaching experience, it flowed very well for me because they have incorporated English, math, reading, science, social studies into their curriculum. So for me, it was exciting to be able to use my background in a STEM environment.
That's great. And so you taught math. There's a lot of math lessons in Learning Blade. What do you think of the math lessons in particular from your math background experience?
Well, I love it. I love the math. It is challenging for the sixth graders. Some of it is more challenging than others, so it's not, all so hard that they're like, I just can't even do this. But it gives me the chance to interact with them and, review some of the skills that they've already learned. And then it also gives them some algebraic experience that they have not really been exposed to already. So it's a great opportunity for the STEM teacher doing Learning Blade to be involved with that.
But you do more than just the math lessons, yes?
Oh yeah, we do it all. And
so your students have completed thousands of lessons in Learning Blade. What's some of your hints in how you get students to use it? I know Lydia probably could answer that too, because she was saying she started a brand new mission today, right, Lydia?
Yes.
And how did your teacher set it up for you to do that lesson?
We created a Google Doc and we wrote our name, the date, and the mission, problem, and vocabulary. And we wrote the problem for this mission is ... and then we'd answer it with the clues from the mission guide. And then we'd write down the vocabulary words, and then we'd either find the definitions in the mission guide or in the slides or videos that pop up with the teammates when you click on their names.
Is that something you do often, Laurie, is get students to write down vocabulary words as they're going through Learning Blade?
We have, especially at this time, since we're using it as distance learning, again, Learning Blade lends itself to consistency. And, once you get the kids started with it, it's very consistent. So the first thing that I do when I introduce a new mission to the kids, especially that since we're all at home, I have them go through the mission guide, identify the problem of the mission, much like I tell them, it's like reading a book. You know, you have the first things that you're introduced to are the characters, the problem, the setting, you know, and that's the way we approach each mission. And so they then generate the list of their vocabulary as they collect the tools and teammates along the way with their mission guide. So that's how we've been doing it. I normally at school don't have them do that because we jump into the mission as soon as we do the mission guide. And then I incorporate the mission vocabulary into the tools and teammates as we get started. But I don't know if there's people listening that haven't used Learning Blade yet. It may seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but it really isn't once you understand the system of it, and that it's kind of like a library, and you just pick a book and you start reading that book, you know, and it's great.
Thank you. And I should add, I should have done a quick intro. Learning Blade is an online STEM career and computer science career awareness program with over 400 online lessons. So what Laurie and Lydia and Ms. Russell and her students are going to talk about is that experience using some of those online, as well as there's offline resources and PDF lesson plans. Laurie, before coronavirus, you had your students independently doing STEM projects that are part of the Learning Blade missions, correct?
Right. I would have my students. I have the good fortune to have my kids as a specials class. So if there's any schools that are, you know, looking for another way to split your kids up into another specials, it's nice to have it. You know, every day we work on Learning Blade, and at the beginning of the semester or the quarter, I introduce them to the dolphin rescue mission and give them the guidelines on how to work on a mission. And then I give them 4 different missions on a sheet of paper, and they have to rank them in order of interest from 1 to 4. And then that puts them into teams. So all the 1s sit together and all the 2s sit together, and all, you know, and then that mission is their team project, team, you know, thing they have to work on. And at the end of the mission work time, then they, as a team, look at there's 4 different projects, STEM projects, that Learning Blade makes available, and they are wonderful because they hit all of the learning styles. So they, you know, from kinesthetic to where, you know, just writing, and
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
they just
open-ended
hit.
writing prompts, and there's hands-on projects. So
Right. So it hits everybody's learning style, and they together choose one of the projects that they want to work on together, and then they have to plan the project and generate a list of all the materials that they need for that project. And then that's their assignment, is to go home and bring their materials to school, and then we work on the projects together in school.
That's
So
great.
that they don't do really anything at home.
Yeah. So that's pre-COVID. Now, post-COVID, you have your student Lydia. Lydia started using Learning Blade after school had shut down. Do you got some questions you wanted to ask Lydia, Laurie?
Well, I do. How's it going for you, Lydia? What do you think of it so far?
I'm actually enjoying it because it gives us a lot of detail in the, like, just in everything. Like when you go to click on the teammates and it'll give you a slideshow or a video. I like to look at those because it'll give us more detail and then help us understand more teammates and tools.
So Lydia, we started the fresh food mission today. And this morning on Good Morning America, I was watching a little bit, and they had the livestock, the whole issue of how our plants that process livestock, they're full of COVID, and they've had to lay out. A lot of people have closed down their plants and stuff, and how they're predicting a shortage of meat. And so that's why I chose to do the fresh food with you guys this time, because it's right now in our country. So what do you think about that? Did you?
I actually enjoy it because my family, we're just starting to plant in our garden.
Ooh.
And our neighbor up the hill actually just said that because we have chickens, or they have chickens, and they have a garden that they let a section of us use, and we have 2 raised beds on the sides of our house.
Oh.
So my neighbor was talking to my mom and me about it. It was actually pretty interesting.
Cool. So maybe you could try something with hydroponics too, because you learned about a little bit about hydroponics this in the mission guide.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Great. And so, but prior to doing the fresh food, what was the mission you were working on, Lydia?
We're working on the flu outbreak.
And how did you like that mission?
I enjoyed it because I could connect a lot with it to what's happening today, and like how they have to create a new vaccine every year, and how they can use what they've learned about vaccines to help create one for COVID-19.
Yeah, so here's a picture of the flu outbreak and all of the different careers, STEM, we call them teammates, those green circles and tools that students learned about. Did you also like how it connected computer science to helping stop the spread of disease and understanding about it?
Yes. Like how a lot of things they have to use technology to help them understand more.
Yeah.
And how they have to use that to help with the pandemic right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Laurie. I'm going to switch over. Don't go away, Laurie. Don't go away, Lydia. There'll be some time at the end for more questions. But we also have 2 students from Arlington Middle School in Florida and teacher Sonya Russell, who's, Sonya, you are the technology teacher. Is that correct?
I am. I'm the technology instructor here in Florida at my school at Arlington Middle School, as well as the innovative technology specialist. So I train teachers and as well on technology platforms for.
And this is your first year using Learning Blade?
This is my first year using Learning Blade, and when I received my district. But my district actually has been using it for years. So, but because this is my first year at the middle school level, it was introduced to me at one of our PLC meetings with our teachers for the district. And once I, started going in and looking at it, I fell in love with it immediately because it fit my curriculum perfectly. One of the reasons why I really loved it was the fact that it aligns so perfectly with my standards, our Florida standards. And with my courses, they're all IT, as well as we're introducing beginning programming. So what I loved about Learning Blade, I was using it as one of my filler lessons.
Yeah.
So, but I taught my standard and my lessons, and when pre-COVID-19, when we were in classes, when I would teach a lesson or a standard, I would always have my students go to Learning Blade, and the standard that I was working on always matched whatever the mission was. So I would initially, because we were learning about hack attack was one of our specific standards. So to know that Learning Blade had already had that already figured out for us, and the student, so that was our first lesson that we conquered, and the students just fell in love with. I mean, they got so engaged with the hack attack mission, and I'm so glad that I actually started with that mission first, because it was very engaging and it just set the platform for them wanting to go in and do the lessons. So I didn't have to struggle with having them complete the lessons. The second part to that is because of we're on this kick now about women in IT and in STEM,
Absolutely.
because there's such a shortage. So with the computer science piece, so I love the fact that they were learning about careers. So I wanted something that they can actually learn about careers instead of sending them to the government website to actually search up different careers, which we did that as well in the very beginning. But when I added the Learning Blade component to that, they were already there. The careers were already there. They matched with the standards. The students were able to not just look up one career, but look up multiple careers right there, and they didn't have to do a whole lot of searching and research with it. And it just worked for what I needed it for.
Excellent. And so you've brought along two wonderful students, two of your top performing students, Tiana and
Yeah,
Dante. Did you have some
yeah.
questions for them about their experiences?
I do, and I thank you. They are two of my top performing students, but I do want to give a shout out to both of them, but specifically Dante, because Dante has not been with us for the entire year. He's only been with us since the later part of 2019.
Yeah.
And when I introduced Learning Blade to him, he just took off. He's done missions that I haven't even assigned.
Good
And when I
job,
say
Dante.
he's killing it, he's killing it. And Tiana is the exact same way. No matter what I give her, she wants to do more. She wants to do more. So, so I love that about them. But yes, I would love to start off with Dante. So Dante, what is your favorite mission that we've worked on in Learning Blade, and why?
My favorite mission is Hack Attack
Okay.
because it like teaches you how to like avoid how to get hacked, and like it's weird, and it teaches you like the ways to not get hacked basically.
Mm-hmm.
And Dante, you like to read. Is that one of your hobbies that you get into, reading?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
what do
sir.
you think about the reading portions of Learning Blade?
I like the reading parts because like it gives you like answers, and then like you could go back to it and like look at it and then go to the answer, and if you need it then it'll help you go back and look at it.
Excellent.
Dante, we talked about you wanting to be a professional football player, and we talked about the fact that in order to become a professional football player, that you also had to attend college. And so, did you have an opportunity to look at how we can relate the college component through the careers that you've learned in Learning Blade to that of football? Were you able to kind of tie the two together yet? You still working
No.
on that piece?
Yes.
Okay, that's no problem. We have a little time. So I'm excited that you're interested in trying to figure out how those two connect. And that's what it's really all about, making the pieces connect together. Tiana, how are you today?
Good. A little tired, but I'm okay.
Okay. Well, I heard the reason why you retired, so I definitely understand, but we'll go ahead. So out of our missions, what was your top one?
I would say Hack Attack and Rescue Robots.
Okay. All right. Well, can you expound a little bit on rescue robots for me?
Uh, I always had a love for robots because I love how people recycle and reuse and use the materials to make um, digital humans to help our community get better in different ways.
Awesome. And then you also talked about too and shared with us that you have a love for the arts. And so was there anything that you learned in Learning Blade that coincides with you being a digital artist?
I would say Hack Attack, probably.
And why would you say hack attack?
Well, because when you're coming with digital art, oh wait, hold on, excuse me for just.
Oh, we lost Tiana.
Okay.
That's okay. Hey, Dante or Lydia, so there's math lessons and English lessons, social studies, science lessons. Do you have a favorite amongst the lesson types? I'll go to Dante first.
I like math.
Yeah, you like the math lessons? Great. What about you, Lydia?
I like a lot of things. Like I like math and reading, but I especially like it when they combine them together. And then you can like do math while you're reading about it. And I liked those lessons.
Lydia, that's interesting because as a former math teacher, that's my favorite part of Learning Blade is that you're doing math while reading about STEM careers. And I think that provides a much richer context for understanding how math is used in the real world. So thanks for that. Thanks for that answer. But Tiana, we'll come back to you. You were talking about your digital art and how learning about computers is helping guide you in your love passion for digital art.
Digital art is related to hack attack because on the internet there's hackers that try to steal art and claim it for themselves. And so hack attack, it talks about how you can prevent hackers by copyrighting your work and adding watermarks on your work assignments and all of that. Show evidence that you drew the art so people don't mistaken you stole from anyone. But I really love the internet and the community and what it brings. Even though there's a lot of pros and cons, it can bring good. And even with the bad, you can learn how to turn that into good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a wonderful answer.
Yeah.
So Miss Langdon, bringing you back in, and then Miss Russell, the same question to you. How have you engaged students? Laurie, I know you do 2 classes a week. You have a strategy for using Learning Blade in your classes during distance learning. What's that strategy?
Well, the strategy that we've been kind of given to follow is we do a lesson one day, and I take a quick video of a lesson that I give on Learning Blade, and then post that with an assignment that goes along with it. So for instance, today I walked them through the mission guide briefly, the beginning of the mission guide, identifying the problem, and then how to collect their vocabulary, posted that and gave them the assignment to have their vocabulary completed by next week. Then on Fridays, we do a Google Meet with them to check in, see if there's any questions, any problems that they've had. So we have really, really scaled down, the learning curve here for
the number of lessons getting done. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you did something, I think you assigned epidemiologists right before Fresh Food. You had students do epidemiologists and then go home and talk to their parents about that.
Right. I as part of their assignment last week, they had to write a paragraph, which then, pulls in the support for our language arts teachers, and I don't know how. I'm pretty sure all schools are, trying their specials in all areas are trying to support the reading and math for our standardized tests. We've been asked to do that as specials teachers. And so the more we can get the kids to write, and the more that we can get them to read and practice those, reading and language arts skills and their math skills, then we're supporting those teachers, the academic core teachers. But so they had to write a paragraph about a discussion they had with their parents about the epidemiologist that Governor DeWine has been talking about. He talks about them every now and then in his daily address to us. And I had several kids, do that, and it was, again, it brings it all around to the family, and
great.
Just as kind of a big ball of wax for them,
And Sonya, same question to you about how you transitioned into distance learning. And as I asked that question of you, all the attendees, if you want to leave your email in the chat box, we'll send you a recording as well as follow-up information. I see there's a couple questions. We'll answer those at the end. But Sonya, how did you transition from doing thousands of lessons in your classroom to how you're trying to engage your students now?
So the great thing about ours is that my students have been working in Learning Blade since the beginning of October. And so we've covered a lot of the missions already. We started out with Hack Attack. We've worked on entrepreneurship. We've completed Intro to Computer Science, Intro to Engineering, Careers, Rescue Robots, Manufacturing a Car Concept. And now we're working on a flu outbreak because it is the time of the epidemic. So the great thing about Learning Blade is the idealists, the people behind the magic of Learning Blade was able to see future what we needed. And that's kind of hard to capture in education. We talk a lot about predicting the future and coming up with careers that haven't even been haven't been even thought about yet. And so now that we have this new learning era, you know, one of the things that my students and I have been talking about is with the flu epidemic, with the pandemic epidemic with COVID-19, how we're going to be living and what's the new normal. So our transition has been flawless. It's just been moving completely still into the right direction. I've made Learning Blade now, since I don't get to do, I'm kind of like Ms. Landon, we have 1 week where we were doing two lessons a week. And but then when we saw that it became an overload for the students, you know, with all the other classes, and for whatever reason they don't, I guess the times that transition from class to class on a normal day doesn't transition like that at home. So they kind of get lost with the with time management. And so we found ourselves where students weren't able to complete a lot of what we were giving them. And so to relieve the pressure, I dropped back to 1 lesson a week. They get it now on Mondays, and then we meet, just like Ms. Landon, we meet every Friday as a whole class. I have over 100 and almost 175 students. And so, and then we talk about what we're working on. And since we've been in the flu outbreak, and we've been talking about COVID-19, we also been working on our project now is working. We're trying to print the 3D masks with our 3D printer that we won. So that's what we've been working on. And so this Friday, their assignment last Friday was to research different 3D masks and handmade mask and sewn mask, which you use a sewing machine. So they had 3 different versions that they had to research and come back and see, you know, which one would be applicable. But we had already agreed that we were going to do a 3D mask and start printing them for our neighborhood medical facilities. And I believe Tiana want to add something to that.
Tiana.
Oh, no, I had a question, but then you answered it. Never mind.
Well, Tiana, I have a question for you and for Dante and for Lydia. So with distance learning, your teachers are assigning you a little bit less Learning Blade to do, but you're doing it. How are you being successful at doing Learning Blade? Do you do it right away on Monday? Do you wait till Friday? What's your strategy, Tiana? And then we'll ask Dante and Lydia.
I think like when as soon as I get a notification in Teams saying I have a Learning Blade assignment, that's when I immediately just hop on and do it.
Great. What about you, Dante? What's your strategy?
I do it like day by day, like half of it and then half of it the other day.
So, but your teacher said sometimes you do more than you're asked to do. What is that? Just you enjoy the lessons, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, I enjoy it sometimes.
Great. And how about you, Lydia? How are you being so successful in Ms. Langdon's class? What's your strategy that you can tell other kids? This is how you succeed.
Well, at my normal schedule, I have 9 classes a day and I have blocks. So I usually go through, I have all my Google Classrooms in order. So I usually go by class. And like sometimes I go off schedule, but usually I do social studies, STEM, then language arts. because
And
that's the schedule for the day.
You're keeping
And
to a
that's how
tight
I
schedule.
usually do mine. And then,
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
Well, if
I
there's
guess
any,
you could say that.
I see there's some questions. Pam's asked a question, and I'll reach out to you, Pam. And another, Laurie Austin asked a question about how to do some sample lessons in Learning Blade. So if anyone that's attending this webinar or sees it in the future wants to email, either leave your email now in the chat box or email info@learningblade.com, and we will gladly reach out to you and connect to you. If you're in one of these 5 states, Learning Blade is a statewide program, and we'd love to just create an account for your school so you can use it like these 2 amazing education professionals have been using it. If you're in a different state than this, reach out at info@learningblade.com, and we can get you the information you need.
Can I say a couple things, Josh, about some of the teacher benefits from your program, from the Learning Blade?
Let's end on that, Laurie. I think that's a great comment. And let me just answer this one chat, and then we'll put that to you. The question is, what grades are these students in? These are 6th and 7th graders. So, Laurie, will you wrap it up for us and tell us some of the teacher benefits?
Sure. So one of there's several different benefits that I have experienced with Learning Blade that you guys have built into the program that makes it so user friendly for us as teachers. One of them is, differentiation is such an important thing now, and your program lends to differentiation like all over the place. It has the text to speech, which I have resource students in every class, and it is imperative that they have that text to speech. And some of them can't read and they listen, and that's how it benefits them. Another thing that I find really beneficial is that in one of the instructional manuals that you provide in the resource section for the teachers, it outlines like the content focus for each lesson. And I have developed my pre-assessment questions from those content focuses, because again, pre-assessment, we all have to pre-assess now, and it's like, how am I going to pre-assess this? So that has given me a perfect guideline on the pre-assessment questions that I ask the kids, before we even start the missions.
Excellent.
And again, it's just like Mrs. Russell said, she's, if you want to emphasize English lessons, then you can pull all your English lessons, or whichever. If you want to do the math, the Pythagorean theory, and mean, median, and mode, all of it's just, and it's all so spelled out. Makes it so easy for the teacher. There's really no guessing, and you've got manuals that explain everything. And
we really are excited to hear that, and we think Learning Blade, especially it also puts out the data reports on every individual student's progress. We think these are important features, but equally important is that we feel that learning about STEM careers is a missing puzzle piece in a student's matriculation in STEM education. We want these young people like Lydia and Tiana and Dante to understand that math and science and English and social studies connect to your future career path. So keep trying hard in class.
Yeah.
Obviously, these 3 have done a great job, and so have you 2 educators. So I just want to thank everyone for your time today, for sharing. And this webinar it's been recorded, and you can find it at learningblade.com/webinars. We have other webinars there. Thank you for all of our incredible participants today. We appreciate you, and keep up the hard work. It's tough out there in distance learning land, but we're glad that Learning Blade is a tool that's assisting you all.
Yes. Hey, Josh, can I say one last thing really quick?
Absolutely.
And I just thank Learning Blade for, yes, just like Ms. Landon said, it is so spelled out for us. There's no guesswork to everything, and it's just amazing to not have that extra stress. But in Hack Attack, we did a lesson where I taught the students how to spot the fake websites, and that was one of the projects that they had to go home and teach their parents to make sure they were on how they could spot a fake website. I would love if Learning Blade, and this is just a suggestion,
Sure.
you know, they have the new deep fakes. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you guys kind of incorporate that somewhere within the missions, because it is one of the huge things now, and it's becoming, you know, even with the government, they're trying to sue.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know what's real and what's not real. What's up, Tiana? You want to add something?
Another thing for Learning Blade is when you do lessons and missions, you get 3 tries to do it.
Yep.
So if you were to get a bad grade on one of them, you can try again 2 more times. And I think that's very helpful for the students that are still a little bit confused, and you can go back and try again to get a better grade.
I'm guessing that's not you very often, but that is a good feature. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, and reach out to Learning Blade if we can be of assistance. Here's how.
Okay, thanks, John.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye. Bye, Lydia.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.